I've been playing and game mastering for D&D and tabletop RPGs for over 15 years, so I just wanted to give my top 5 tips on how to be your DM's favorite player. Being a great player has lots of benefits, like your DM actually wanting to prep and run session, and being the person who's invited to every one-shot and every group. These are by no means rules or guaranteed, but they've worked well for me and they're my humble opinion. Starting with tip number 5, fight their monsters, not the dungeon master. If there's a rules disagreement, if something is written one way in the book and you feel that's how it should work, definitely voice it, bring it up, but bring it up once. And then respect and listen to your dungeon master if they say, hey, we're not doing it that way this time, or there's something you don't know about behind the scenes that's affecting this and you're going to roll with it. Let it go. Go with it. Being a DM is really hard. They might be working with something you don't know yet, some big reveal that's coming up, or they could be covering their butts after a mistake. Both are totally valid, and they need to be able to play the game too. Fighting them will just make them enjoy playing less, and the less your dungeon master enjoys playing, the less likely you are to actually run session that week. Tip number 4 is pretty basic. It's be punctual and present. Being on time tells the DM that you respect their game, you prioritize their time, and you want to be there. Likewise, being on your phone tells them that you want to be anywhere else. It tells them you're bored, it tells them you're unengaged, regardless of how true that is. I know a lot of players really struggle, myself included, with not being on a phone. For me, I found the fix was doing something else with my hands. So I'll quite often sketch scenes from the session, or journal what's going on during session, knit, crochet, anything that occupies your hands without occupying your brain can be really helpful if it's something you struggle with. Do ask your DM's permission, explain the problem you're having, and say, hey, this random lady on the internet said this might be a good fix. Do you mind if I give it a go? This works really well for me. I've had people comment, hey, you're not paying attention, you're drawing. And then I just rattle off the last 6 things that were said and what we're doing in the session and who's playing what. And I usually am one of the more engaged players. I just don't look it. Tip number 3 is to respect your dungeon master setting. Just like if you write an intricate backstory and you want it to be respected and utilized and to come up in campaign, that's how the DM feels about their setting. If during session 0 they say, hey, this is a Western campaign, we're all going to be humans, there's no magic, don't try to roll in with a wizard samurai. It's not respectful, it makes them feel bad and like they had a bad idea, and it's not being a team player. You can find other ways to have creative, meaningful characters that are fun and important to you within their parameters. Make it a challenge for yourself. If you really, really, really need to go outside the boundaries, have an honest and frank conversation with your dungeon master and listen to what they say. Don't try to steamroll them and say, hey, this is something I really want to do. Is there a way it can work in your setting, or is it a hard ban? Have that conversation. Now, you'll notice that several of these tips are mostly about making sure the DM has a good time, and this one fits right in that vein. The session doesn't happen if the DM's not there. Encourage and help your dungeon master. So if they ask for feedback, give them thoughtful, constructive feedback. Don't be mean, but let them know what they could do to be stronger and let them know what they're doing well. That's really important to keep their morale up and to keep themselves motivated to prep and keep showing up every week. Likewise, if you know that they have put a lot of prep into something and you see the story hook, try not to blow by it. Sure, it might not be like the best hook, or maybe it's not something that your character would normally do. Especially if it's a new DM, they might just not have the hang of making a good grabbing hook. But throw them a bone every once in a while. It doesn't have to be every time, but if they have very obviously set up like a murder mystery, try to avoid suddenly going off and exploring the local mine that they made up 3 seconds ago, because they will thank you for not throwing their entire session out the window. And really, the game hinges on the DM wanting to be there and having fun. So try to encourage that in any way you can. Lastly, tip number 1, remember that this is a team game. Your end goal should be for everyone to have fun, not just yourself. Whenever an opportunity comes up to be in the spotlight, think about which character makes the most sense here. Think about how you can do the most interesting thing, not necessarily the most profitable. Work on telling a good story together with your friends rather than trying to come out on top or be victorious. Likewise, remember the Dungeon Master is part of your team. You may be at odds, but without them, there wouldn't be a game. Anyway, thank you for listening. Those are my 5 tips to be a better player and have a more consistent session. I hope they help. Take care.